Hello, it's Jason, bringing you a special episode today about the 2017 Audition Breakthrough Summit, which starts online March 15th. I'm so pumped for this event. It features some names that you know, including Ira Gold, who I've had on the podcast many times, bassist in the National Symphony, teaches at Peabody, Dr. Noah Kazuyama, who you probably know through his website, Bulletproof Musician. You should check that out if you haven't. It's great. Colin Williams, who's Associate Principal Trombone of the New York Philharmonic. Claire Connet of the Marketed Musician. Will Timmons, who's organizing this entire event. And me, I'm involved too. Super pumped for this event. And I'd love it if you checked it out. I sat down with Will Timmons to talk through the event. So excited for that. So we're going to get into the details with Will here. Check out the summit at auditionbreakthrough.com. And if you use the code Contrabass20, you'll get $20 off any access pass that you purchase. I'd also like to thank D'Addario Strings for sponsoring the podcast, and check out our new Helicore giveaway we've got going with D'Addario at contrabassconversations.com/strings. I'm a fan. I've used Helicore for years. They're made in New York at the D'Addario String Factory, designed, engineered, and crafted in New York. And thanks to basscapos.com for providing the hosting. If you're looking to implement an extension, Bass Capos is a great choice. Learn more about everything they've got at basscapos.com. So excited to bring you this episode with Will Timmons. Here we go. Mockauditions.com. Is that your main website?
So that is not my personal website, but that's a new business that is also starting up right now.
Okay.
And that's a bit separate from the Audition Breakthrough Summit, but that is yet another way to help people in their audition journey.
Okay.
So mockauditions.com. Do you want me to speak about that a little bit?
We can. We certainly can. I'll make sure to push people to the conference. I'll make sure that's the thing.
That's fine.
Yeah, but we can talk.
So mockauditions.com is a new online platform. There's online platforms out there like Play with a Pro or maybe a few others where you have online video lessons with people from across the world. The thing that makes ours different is it's asynchronous, which means that you don't do it live, even though it feels kind of live. So you log into our website, and then you basically hit a button that says record, and you play live into our website. It records you live, and then sends that. It's about a 10-minute video, so like a mock audition round. It sends that to whoever your coach is that you wanted to play for, and that coach gets an email saying, hey, you've got a new video, and then they, on their time, so not live, but some coaches are busy at odd hours, and so whenever they can get around to it, they will log in, view your video, and then give you a video in return up to 10 minutes. So it's a similar lesson, but just separated a little bit. So they're still hearing you play your mock audition and still giving you video feedback as if they were right there online with you. And it's a little shorter time commitment for the coach and for the student or audition taker. And that's really what we were trying to go at with this, was like a shorter time commitment and hopefully in the process a little lower price point as well. So I think we're going to get down to like a one session model where the price is more closely related to a 20 or 30 minute lesson than an hour long lesson. Yeah. I know I've gone and played for people and within 15 minutes I knew exactly what I needed to work on for the next 2 weeks,
Right.
And so then like the rest of the lesson was them just harping on that same issue, and it can get you defeated a little bit instead of like inspired to just hone in on that for right now. So that's what we're trying to hit at there. So and we have Ira Gold on there who's fantastic. So
What an articulate guy. Perfect person to have for that. And what a great model for something like that too, because like you're talking about, you don't need necessarily an hour lesson. It's a great way to sort of simulate that experience of, hey, can I play my excerpts for you? Get a little feedback. That's such a great sort of those final stages, that you're trying to get around and make the rounds. But using online, the opportunities of the online platforms, you can play for people like Ira, even if you live out here on the West Coast or
exactly.
It's fantastic. Yeah.
And it seems like it wouldn't be a live experience, but there's something about hitting a button that says record, and then it gives you 10 seconds to get set, and then you go. Like there's no, hey, hold on, let me redo that.
Yeah.
It's your video, it's your mock audition. Whatever happens, and then you hit submit, and it goes to somebody. So the pressure's on, and it's almost even more on than an audition, because you can't. I mean, you could hit stop if but you might as well use the 10 minutes to kind of see what comes out and send it to somebody and get there. It's an opportunity for the coaches to not only coach the excerpts, but really audition skills. Okay, it seemed like your Ein Heldenleben didn't get a great start. So here's what I would suggest for that, a process that I go through for starting that one, really thinking about the time and just giving little tips to help get started on each excerpt. So that's the platform in a nutshell, and check it out at mockauditions.com. Yeah.
Cool. No, it looks great. I've been looking through it, and again, it's so cool to have Ira on there. His unofficial nickname, I think it's his Instagram handle, is Bass Rabbi, and he's filled with wisdom for sure. One of my really good friends I've known for, gosh, I don't even know at this point, 12, 13 years.
Wow.
Each other. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's great, because that kind of gets us into the summit, the Audition Breakthrough Summit. And Ira, I sat down with him, and we just talked, and it was such a good conversation about his experience on over 10 National Symphony audition panels. He's one of the guys who they keep going to, regardless of the instrument who's auditioning, principal horn, section violin, or oboe. These instruments all have very different repertoire, and the opportunity to be on the panel really asks the panel member to put themselves in the shoes of principal horn as opposed to section bass, like for Ira. And so he has to really get behind what really makes a principal horn player really stand out. Is it the blend, or is it the ability to play the really soft high passages effortlessly? Like there's a different approach depending on the instrument and what part in the section they play. And he has some extraordinary ideas and concepts that he's gained from having to do that for, like I said, over 10 with the National Symphony, a major symphony orchestra. So that was a really, really good session, and that's just one of, I think, 8 sessions that are going to be, at least 8 are going to be a part of this summit for 2017. So
cool.
Yeah.
What?
Really
so talk us through some of the other sessions. What else are people going to see?
Well, one of the big names is Dr. Noah Kageyama, and a lot of people know of his blog, the bulletproofmusician.com, and they don't know his name quite as much, but the person behind that blog is an amazing person. He was a violinist that was studying at Juilliard and ran into taking classes with Don Green, Dr. Don Green, in this psychological approach to performance, and he really dug it. And then he went kind of out of performing music and into this psychology world. And I believe he went to Indiana University to get his psychology degree. And since then, he's kind of bridged the gap between music performance and performance psychology, and he's done so very well. And just hearing him speak about anything related to his content as far as the peak performance side of things it's in him, he knows this stuff up and down. And so when I met with him to film, I think we did 2 sessions with him, one by himself where he talks about centering. And centering is like a main part of his platform, where it's like the 15 seconds right before you begin an excerpt, how to like compose yourself and make sure that you have the right cues in your brain to, instead of thinking, oh my gosh, what is the committee going to think? It's a certain process that you go through to really get set to play your best from the very beginning. And we have a 27-minute video where he just walks you through it, step by step. And this is the only place where you can find that video. I mean, he's got blogs on top of blogs, but seeing him speak effortlessly about this and take you through the process, that's a huge value. I actually just watched it last night, just to get it back in my brain because it was so good. And so Dr. Noah Kageyama shares the centering, and then we also did sort of an interview about flow, getting into a state of flow, how to stay in a state of flow, and what happens if you're in a state of flow and then all of a sudden a note flies out of nowhere, or like maybe if you're a string player, like your bow comes off accident. Nerves get the best of us regardless of who we are sometimes. It doesn't matter how much we've practiced, but weird things happen. I'll say that. And how to regain your composure and get back into a state of flow once you've been jarred out of it. So that's great. One of the other sessions we have is with Colin Williams, who's the Associate Principal Trombone of the New York Philharmonic. And Colin has a really great story. He had a lot of early audition success in his life, pretty much straight out of Juilliard. He won a few auditions, big auditions, and he ended up in the Atlanta Symphony, and he actually won another audition for Seattle Symphony and declined it. But he played in Atlanta Symphony for years, but then at some point he developed a tear in his lip, and he talks a bit about how this injury, what he had to do to get through the injury, and then getting back into playing. I mean, he took almost a year off trombone completely with a torn, lip muscle, and then coming back, it's kind of like you have a new arm that you have to figure out how to use. Like it just doesn't feel comfortable at all like you used to know it. And he was able to sort of not reconstruct, but find a new way of learning how to use his embouchure muscles to get back to that same level that he was at, and actually go one step further and win an audition in a major symphony orchestra, moving up from Atlanta to New York Phil. So really resilient guy, and kind of talks about all of that openly. And injuries with musicians are often talked about behind closed doors and aren't really shared with people because there's a stigma that kind of goes along with it. But his story gives hope to anybody who runs into an issue, physical injury, hope for recovery and even further excellence. So that was a really good session. We also are going to have sessions by Claire Condit, who is the marketed musician. She runs a website called themarketedmusician.com, and she is going to provide resume writing tips specifically for auditions. She's talking with personnel managers who receive the resumes and see what the most common mistakes or things that stick out to them that say, okay, this person's probably unqualified, and just kind of walk us through some writing tips to make sure that the resume looks spot on for, a professional audition. The last thing you want to do is think that you're going to be invited to some random audition and you send a resume and they're like, based on your resume, we don't feel that you would be a great fit for this position. You can get halted before you get started, and that's no good. So Claire's going to walk us through some tips for writing the resume, and then another person involved is Jeff Nelson. Have you heard of Jeff Nelson before?
Yeah, I know the name. All
right.
Tell me about it.
So he has his personal website, jeffnelson.com with an E-N, Nelson. He's a horn player, French horn player, and he, for years, played with the Canadian Brass, a very famous brass quintet, traveled through Canada, but worldwide. Yeah. And Jeff now teaches at IU, Indiana University, and he's got some incredible tips on what he calls fearless performance. And he's a master of the psychological part of performing, whether it's for audiences or committees or for a recording. I mean, it's incredible. So if you check out his website, you'll see some video clips, but he's going to present to our listeners basically his process. He runs a 4-day seminar in person, and he's going to walk us through a lot of what that seminar entails. Oh, wow. And he's got a really cool idea about the transition between just simply being to sharing. There's a transition that you have to get past. He likes to set the line at the door onto a stage. So you go from simply being who you are to sharing music with someone as you cross a specific line, and it just changes your mindset completely. And a lot of people actually use that line, that demarcation, to start getting nervous. Like once you cross that line, it's real, And I love how he reframes that into a more positive way, and he has tips for how to get used to doing that, because we're constantly fighting our own psychology about our negative thoughts, our insecurities about ourselves. And just getting rid of all of that baggage and start saying, hey, this is exciting. I want to share something with you. Yeah. Like my Ein Heldenleben is unbelievable, like check this out. I've been working on it. I'm excited to share it with you, and it's not like, oh my gosh, am I doing the bow stroke right? I'm not getting quite the sound. It's a complete reframing of insecurities into a completely different mode. So, yeah, he's great, and then I personally will present my thoughts on staying positive over the long haul, because let's face it, auditions, it can take time. Yeah. I mean, I was fairly lucky, and I scored an audition around number 14 in my career. Yeah. So some people do it earlier. Some people do it much, much, much later, and there's a whole spectrum. The more you take, obviously, the more jaded some people might become, but at the end of the day, we're all on a life journey, and just putting these auditions not as endpoints where we're disappointed, but as just simple dots along our life graph, it can really change our perspective. Like, this one audition doesn't really change who I am. I'm going to strive to meet my potential. Like, here's where I think I am, and I'm going to try to meet that. And if I fall a little short of that, I'll try to learn what I could have done better. And if I actually overachieve and do something really great, then that's awesome. I'm going to try to learn what I did there. It doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be my absolute best. It's where I think I should be on today, and then strive for that, because that's all we can do. We can't, I'm not sure who the most notorious bass audition taker would be, but let's say Blake Hinson from the New York Philharmonic. Let's say if Blake takes an audition, when a random bassist takes an audition, they don't have to sound like Blake. Right. They just have to sound like them and play their game up to the potential that they think they should have, and learn and move up. It's kind of like stepping stones. You want to you want to be a little better than the last one. And if it takes 60, which it has for people, I mean, I know people who have taken 60 and then won a position in the Cleveland Orchestra.
Right.
Like, that's their first win. Right. Okay. Yeah. That's a good one to win, but it takes a little bit of perseverance to get that far. Yeah. So, just staying positive over the long haul is really important. So I'll present some more thoughts on that. And then also just talk about how to structure a mock audition, because in my experience and being at the New World Symphony for a couple of years, mock auditions were the thing. I mean, that was what we got out of each other, was just, feedback from other great players and having another person in the room. I mean, I can go play a mock audition for myself or my tape recorder, but that doesn't put someone else in the room who could judge me. Yeah. All my judgments are kept to myself, but getting out of that little bubble, I mean, the recorder's good, but a person, another being is super, super important. And then say if you got 7 people together, that's even different, because they're all going to be thinking something different from each other, and you have to just kind of stick to your game and not worry about what any of them think, So just talking about the people involved with a mock audition, and then just how to get the most out of a mock audition by how you structure it. I'll walk you through that process as well. And then finally, we have you and your experiences. And so I want to thank you for participating in the summit and sharing. You had a great book come out, and I think the knowledge that you gained by talking to many different audition winners just gives the perspective. You can kind of find common threads while also finding many differences. There's not just one path to success, although sometimes it might seem like, oh, they're all doing this. Well, that's true, but then they're also doing all these other things that are very different from each other. So just having that the commonalities and the differences presented are really important to know, so that you don't go down the rabbit hole of saying, oh man, it's got to be like this, it's got to be like this. Everybody's doing it this way, this is what wins the audition, Right. And people can really get into that, especially if they've taken 30 auditions. They're searching for that one magic pill, that one magic bow stroke that gets them to the finals or something, right. And it just doesn't work that way. Yeah. So
it absolutely doesn't work that way. That's what I learned putting that together. It's not insert tab A into slot B and poof, right. You win an audition. And everybody has their own path, and just because and it's more like you were describing. It's more mindset than anything, and being able to embrace that feeling of giving. Right? Yeah. Which can be the hardest thing on earth for people to do when they're wrapped up in the psychology and the financial pressures and all the pressures. But well, I am just so excited for this event. I want to congratulate you on this, Will. It's just so cool. And auditionbreakthrough.com is the website, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, cool. And then let folks know where they can find you if they want to connect with you. Where do you hang out? Where's your website? What's your website?
So my personal website is T-Bone Timmons, my last name Timmons, and tbonetimmons.com, and I'll put a little contact form up there, so if you have any questions, you can email me, or you can reach me through the mock auditions website. I'm listed as a coach there, and I also field the emails that get sent through that contact form, or on auditionbreakthrough.com as well. There's contact form at the bottom there. So any of those places, if you need to get in touch with me, feel free to. If you have questions, reach out. I'm available and willing to help you on your audition journey. So, yeah.
Nice.
So thanks so much for having me on your podcast. This is awesome.
Thanks again, Will, for chatting. And folks, be sure to check out auditionbreakthrough.com. And if you enter Contrabass 20, when you check out, you get $20 off any of the passes. I'm excited for this event. Hope to see you there, and we will see you again soon for more life on the low end of the spectrum.